Thanks for being here. It's all yours.
Great. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Okay, I'll confirm as I see it. I do see your green screen.
Perfect.
Green screen.
Perfect. And we'll get started here. So thanks everybody for joining this session after lunch. Today, my name is Fariss Agatone, and I'll be talking about the Park Register, one of our portal web applications. I work for the Fairfax County Park Authority, and thanks for joining. So the Park Register is it's an entity, a piece of data basically that we've had in the Park Authority for decades. Previously, it was a table, and what it is the record of our publicly accessible facilities, to include all of the facilities that the Park Authority manages. So those are things like playgrounds, fields, and courts. In years past, like I've said, we've had this for decades. We've had a single record for each park. It started as an Excel document, and then it migrated to an access table. So for all 400 plus of our parks, there was only one record for each, which meant that all of the attribution about the playground, all the attribution about the field was in one record, which was a lot to manage. Historically, we've also used that table to generate feature counts for accreditation. The Park Authority is a CAPRA accredited organization. So as the years went on, the Park Authority evolved. Like I said, this is an example of what it looked like in 2000. It was a spiral bound book. The Planning and Development Division of the Park Authority managed this. It was effectively a series of tables and maps. Then in the 90s, we moved to Access, not Excel. So this was the first, database, formal database of this that we had. Still a single record for each park. So you can see here, we've got our park names there, address, a website link, and then off to the right, you can kind of see here, there's a significant amount of additional fields. So while this worked for the time, the GIS staff at the Park Authority has really increased a lot over the last 5 years. We went from 1 staff member to 3 staff members, and thus our ability to manage GIS data, create and manage GIS data really expanded. So as a result of that, over the last 5 years, we've spent significant amount of time working on GIS data for all of our features, if you will. So those things that I mentioned, playgrounds, courts, fields, we don't just manage the information about those in Excel or Access anymore. We now have individual GIS data sets for each of those features. So it's not a single table anymore. The Park Register is now a web application, which I'll demo here in a couple of minutes. It has all of our internally accessible inventory GIS layers. So like I said, we're still working on the data. We're always going to be working on the data. That is GIS staff. It is an eternal effort, the data. So all of our layers are available in this Park Register. Rather than manually generating metrics, the Web App Builder app generates them automatically using one of the widgets, which I'll show you. And then of course now, as I mentioned, since the GIS staff has expanded, now we have dedicated staff that update the data and the application itself on a much more regular basis. So I'm gonna actually hop out of my presentation here and move over to the web app. So I wanna show you all how it works. It's built in Web App Builder. Of course, like I said, it's in our portal, so it's behind our firewall. This is only available to Fairfax County staff, but we really did design it for the Park Authority staff. So if this was available outside our firewall, I would link you to it, but it's not. So I really thought this was a good example for the community at large, because it's a nice example of how very careful data creation led to our ability to create a really, really fine-tuned and helpful app for staff. So like I said, it provides a specific experience for Park Authority staff. And one of the other things I didn't mention, but I'll talk about as we're moving around here, is that to create this, we took a lot of staff input. So I actually folded users in early on in the creation process. And that was really helpful for getting their input to transition them to actually using the app. Because of course, you know, that's what we build them for, is for people to use them. I don't want it to just sit on its own. So here you can see we've just got all of our park information for Fairfax County. Up here in the upper left-hand corner, we have the query widget, and this gives you, I've relabeled it, filter data by area. And this lets staff filter our data by a couple of different features. We've got park name, supervisor district, maintenance area, and planning district. Maintenance area and planning district are both really for park-specific staff. Of course, supervisor district in Fairfax County is our municipal districting of representation for the Board of Supervisors. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to search for Fairfax, Lake Fairfax. That's one of our largest parks. It'll zoom in up here. And what I want to draw your attention to before I click the apply button is the inventory counts widget over here on the right. This is the info summary widget that I've relabeled inventory counts for ease of staff understanding. And all of the data that is relevant for knowing a feature count for is here. So you can see we've got our Park Authority parks. Staff can easily see the count, playgrounds, courts, diamond fields, etc. So I draw your attention to these numbers. Watch how those change when we hit apply. So what it's doing is it's filtering everything that has all the records that have the attribute of Lake Fairfax for the park name are now being shown over here on inventory counts. So we zoom to Lake Fairfax. I can move around just like a traditional web application. We've got a lot of labeling turned on. My internet's a little slow today. So we've got labeling turned on for all of our data. Of course, pop-ups are enabled for ease of staff use. And people can really query what's happening in an individual park easily using this inventory counts widget. So I just clicked on one of our picnic shelters. This is shelter I at Lake Fairfax. If I wanted to look at the picnic facilities over here in inventory counts, I'm only looking at 12 of them because that's what's in Lake Fairfax. And we've got this configured also, it's grouped by feature type. So I can see we've got 7 picnic shelters, 4 picnic areas, 1 canopy. And then to continue to expand on that, we can actually open this and see, all right, of the shelters, here's what they are named. Picnic areas, the same thing. So this is a really effective and more customized way for staff to be able to view our data. Staff also take screenshots of this fairly frequently, rather than the GIS team needing to create customized maps for everything. You know, obviously we still create custom maps, but this provides staff a really quick and easy way to share information with members of the public, with other county staff. It really puts the power in their hands, which is something we wanted to do. Over here, we've got advanced filtering. And that is a section that was designed, again, because we want staff to be using this. We didn't want it to feel really GIS centric, really GIS heavy. So this advanced filtering is a quick and easy way that staff can filter the data based on our values. So again, this is just another querying widget. And I'm going to scroll down and we are going to look at, and again, I haven't mentioned this yet, but we've very intentionally matched the cartography that you're seeing on the map with what you're seeing here in inventory counts and the icon that you're seeing in the advanced filtering to help it feel more cohesive for staff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit reset because I'm done looking at Lake Fairfax. I'm just going to give it a minute. It takes a second to load. So there you can see all my numbers moved back up, zooming out a little bit. And I'm going to say I want to look at picnic facilities across the county. So I'm going to look at picnic shelters specifically. So I'm going to check picnic shelter, turn that on. You can see my picnic facilities changed to 62. I'm only looking at picnic shelters. Now say I only want to look at reservable picnic shelters. Again, filter, that goes from 62 to 46. Now I have a great list, all of our reservable picnic shelters. Another need that staff often have is, okay, this is helpful, but how do I actually use this data outside of the application? We've been encouraging staff to download this data as infrequently as possible because, of course, this data, we've got it connected to our enterprise database. So anytime one of our staff members makes an edit, that's applied immediately, or once the version is posted, to the park register. But of course, there's always a business need to do some sort of post-processing on the data. So we've got our attribute table here. I'm going to move to the picnic facilities tab. And you can see we've enabled the option to export all to CSV. So this is a way that staff, say a customer asked, oh, I'm looking for all of your reservable picnic shelters throughout the county. This is a way that they could, a staff member could provide an easy list for them. And of course, all of the attribution is also in the attribute table. This is a small sample of the capabilities that are here. The very last thing I want to show is, of course, we've got a variety of other base maps available here. Fairfax County purchases really high quality imagery every year now. So we've got the imagery layer available here. Let's zoom into one more park. Let's pick. Let's do. We're going to come into another park over here where we've got a lot of features. I'm going to let it load. You can see that imagery is loading. We have the swipe tool enabled here, which is pretty neat. Just clicked on that. Again, apologies for my internet connection here. So this lets, again, gives users more capabilities to just provide other staff or members of the public what they're looking for. So if we wanted to look at some of the features that are here, we can look at them on imagery or look at them with the GIS overlaid. So I've got 2 minutes. I'm going to wrap up over here back in my presentation. So here's my key takeaways. We created this tool based on what users have needed and what they had asked us about based on our current workflows and business processes. Nobody came to the GIS team and said, hey, make an application with all of this data. We, over the years,
okay, thanks.
we're looking at what was being asked of us, what we knew staff were doing, and we created something based on those needs. Including users in the design process and then following that up by really promoting the application and helping users feel more comfortable in transitioning to this has really led to widespread user adoption. So if you're considering something like this in your organization, I would encourage you to really include those users early in the process, because the more you can make it customized and helpful for them, the more likely they will be to use it, which is what we're looking for. The intentional and consistent data design that we've spent the last 5 years on really makes a lot of these application capabilities possible. So like I mentioned, that filtering that we were seeing in the upper left-hand corner, that's only possible because we have a park name attribute on all of our data. So when you're creating your data sets and when you're working on your data design, keep in mind how your fields that are available can really impact your capabilities in web application development. And lastly, the fact that we've included users in the design and educated them in promoting the application has really led to a lot of that high application usage. And as a result, our data is getting more exposure. There's more folks in the Park Authority and in the county that are viewing it. And that's really helping us to keep our data up to date. If there are ever any issues, you know, the likelihood that staff will see them is higher. And we've worked very hard to make sure that staff is comfortable with reaching out to us and just letting us know that we can make those changes. So that's my
Fariss.
time. Thank you.